Policing hate speech in Germany. The country already has some of the world's toughest laws on this. Now it wants social media giants to step up their game.
And failing to do so could come with penalties. I'm Malika Bilal.
I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. $54 million. That's what Germany wants to fine companies like Facebook and Twitter if they fail to remove hate rhetoric and misinformation online. Justice Minister Heiko Maas says that a hate speech bill was proposed this month because social media networks are not doing enough to remove abusive content and so-called fake news. Facebook told us it will have 700 people reviewing online content by the end of the year in Berlin and that it will look into Germany's proposal. Twitter had no comment on the draft bill, but says it's working to identify abusive behavior.
Many are welcoming the bill at a time when racist and xenophobic posts are targeting refugees and migrants in the country. But not everyone is ready to put the responsibility on private companies. Critics say officials should just enforce existing laws.
So is Germany's approach to hate in the digital age the right one? With us to discuss this, we have Christian Solmecke. He is an IT lawyer in Cologne, Germany. Sina Laubenstein is project manager at the No Hate Speech Movement Germany in Berlin. Also in Berlin, Volker Tripp, he's an advocacy manager at the NGO Digital Society. And Hannes Grasegger is a reporter at Das Magazine and SZ Magazine in Zurich, Switzerland. Facebook and Twitter gave us statements but declined to participate in this discussion. I'm glad to have you, though, guests. Welcome, everybody. Volker, I was just thinking, online, what have you seen on social media that made you think that maybe you need tighter legislation? Anything?
Well, I guess there might be some sort of offences in the realm of hate speech and such online, and probably it's a good idea to do something about it. But I don't think that the law that Heiko Maas has suggested is the right way to go.
Probably. Sina, how would you persuade Volker? He says probably. He doesn't sound that committed. What have you seen that you would share with Volker to say this is out of hand?
Well, of course, we saw a rise in hate speech in Germany, I don't know, since the migration crisis, but we also have to remember that hate and hate speech, it's not a new phenomenon. It has been since, I think, humankind existed, so it just gets more dynamic, it gets more important, and it gets much bigger on the internet. So I think there need to be some steps to take just to get it under control and to support the people that are targeted. And I appreciate that politicians finally take these issues seriously, but I agree somehow with Volker that it's not the only way and it's not the sole way we have to go.
So, Sina, there's someone here on Twitter who agree with you. This isn't new. Jamie says, Germany knows better than anyone where hate speech leads. So I say go for it. There's no place for hate speech in a civil society. But Christian, there's someone else's tweet that I want to direct to you. This is Taha, who says, people think that hate speech is freedom of speech, but ultimately harmless. But what they don't realize is it has very real consequences. Christian, I know that you are bringing a case to actually sue companies like Facebook for speech like this because of those consequences. What do those consequences look like to you?
Yes, we have seen hate speech since several years, but we have the problem that all these social media companies do not delete hate speech, even so this is clear criminal content. And already now they are obliged to delete it. And that was the reason why Heiko Maas first tried a form of self-regulation. He had several talks to Mr. Zuckerberg, to Facebook, and he hoped that they want to delete themselves, but this didn't work. So we needed a new legislation. That's the reason why he came now with that proposal.
Let me give you an example, audience. If you're watching this, there's so much of this hate speech that we couldn't even share with you. If we blanked it all out, there'd be nothing left to see. If we bleeped it out, there'd be nothing left to hear. But I'm going to give you an example from Sina's organisation so you can hear the sort of thing that's going on online. Have a listen.
Hey, ich bin Nemi und das hier sind Hasskommentare an mich. Sieh mal an, das Kopftuch kann sprechen. Ernsthaft? Du Stück Müll laberst nur dich in dein Land. Also erstens bin ich hier geboren und zweitens ist er ja wohl der Einzige, der hier Terror macht.
That's just one example. Christian, do you have any more?
Yes, for example, in Germany, it's forbidden to deny the Holocaust. This is you get the prosecutor would do something against you if you deny the Holocaust. And in the United States, for example, this is allowed. It's allowed under freedom of speech. So if you do so in Germany and someone reports this to Facebook, they say this is not against our community standards because Facebook's rules are the community standards and not German law. But as a lawyer, I say a US company who wants to make deals with German customers, they have to respect German law.
What's it like when you try and tell Facebook you need to take this down? What happens, Christian?
I can tell you what happens because Minister of Justice Heiko Maas made a report. This report said that in the last year 500,000 hate speeches were reported to Facebook, but only 30% of them have been deleted, and that's the main problem. And we don't speak about content which could be free under freedom of speech. We speak about clear illegal content, and Facebook is obliged to delete this already now. So we have a problem of law enforcement at the moment here in Germany, and I hope that the new legislation will change this.
So Hannes, I know that you've actually reported on Facebook's content deletion policy, I guess it's called. I want to share some experiences that people online have had. This is Jay, who says, on Facebook, I reported someone that said, kill all Muslims. Facebook determined that this hate speech did not violate their policy. Over on Twitter, Ivan says, Twitter took down an account after I reported it was spreading hate speech. It should do so systematically. Hate speech equals no place for it. Hannes, can you talk about what that looks like and why these two people, among many other people, get this response from these companies?
So I don't know for Twitter, but I know for Facebook because I have that policy here on my desk. And case one, the decision is correct. So according to the Facebook law, this is not a violation of their policy. And I do think the discussion is kind of misguided right now because it's not either free speech as of now, and after the introduction of the law, it's not free speech anymore. But what we're seeing right now is that Facebook and other companies are just censoring themselves according to their own laws. And they're not respecting the German law in that situation right now. So there is already censorship going on. So what we did is mid last year, we discovered that there was kind of a hidden Facebook facility in the heart of Berlin. And there were around 700 people who were actually working on as a deletion squad. They're called content moderators. And what these people do is they watch the most horrible stuff that gets flagged on Facebook all day long. And they have to decide whether it's according to the Facebook law or not. And that's a horrible task for a lot of those people we spoke to. They felt fairly traumatized, and it's a totally different angle to the legal side. It's people who have to do this work.
Sina, I want to show you something here on my laptop. This was Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure you remember when he visited Berlin last year, and an audience actually quizzed him about what are you going to do about hate speech in Germany? And he says, we will do better. That was a year ago. Have you seen improvement? I see Christian is laughing, but Sina, you take this first of all. Improvement from Facebook? How are they doing?
I think probably they improved. I wouldn't know. I don't know about the statistic. I just know that in my daily work, in my job, we see hate speech targeting refugees, targeting especially Muslims. The whole time, every day, they are threatening them. They are threatening to kill them. They are threatening to rape them. They are telling that they should be sent back to concentration camps, that they should be sent to the gas chambers. And I don't really think that this is improving then, if we can still find loads of these comments.
So the idea of this draft bill becoming law, that is something that you would say, yes, this will help?
Well, I'm not sure. As I said before, we appreciate that the politicians are finally taking this seriously, but I'm not sure whether it's sufficient to give a 24-hour time frame to tell the companies when to delete stuff and when not. So we are a bit worried that it might lead to wrongful censorship, kind of. So we like the law. We like that the politics take a step, but we are not sure about the...
I'm not sure if it's going to work.
Specialty. Yeah, well...
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 24 hours time frame is only for clear illegal content, and it's not if something is difficult to check, then Facebook and all the other social media companies have 7 days to check if we have criminal content or not. So if we have clear illegal content, then it's correct. They have to delete within 24 hours. But that's the case at the moment too. For example, if we have a copyright infringement and the big right holders like Warner Brothers or so come to Facebook, then they have the ability to delete within 24 hours. I have no idea why this should not be possible when it comes to hate speech.
The situation that may I?
Yeah,
so
Hannes,
the situation that I've seen when talking to the people, some of those who worked as content moderators, they were, after a couple of months, seeing baby rape images and all that pedophilia and the decapitation movies and all of that stuff, they became so apathic and traumatized. They were just, when something showed up, whether they had to delete or not, they couldn't even take that decision. They were not watching the screens anymore because they were not being treated in a manner that would allow them to continue this tough work. So technically speaking, Facebook has a major problem in handling this case. The company that does it for them does not seem to be able to manage this in an appropriate manner, I feel.
I want to throw a different perspective into this, and I'll throw this over to you, Falka. Democratic Gremlin, that's the handle. She says, in fact, currently, German laws criminalize speech to an extreme extent not practiced in most English-speaking countries, begging the question, why now? If there are already existing laws, why not just enforce those? And then furthermore, we got a tweet from someone else saying, how will this be policed or enforced? Falka?
Well, I think she's right. She's quite right there, because actually we have pretty tough criminal laws on everything that has to do with the uttering of an opinion, for example, or an insult, right? So I think these laws are pretty tough, and actually we have a problem with the enforcement. The only bad thing is I don't think the law that Heiko Maas has proposed now will actually do anything good for the enforcement, because all the burden to judge whether there is a crime or not is upon Facebook. And I think it's different from, say, copyright infringements. It's quite easy to see if there is infringing content or not, but it's kind of hard to tell whether something somebody says is actually a crime or not. So I think, you know, it should still be up to courts, and it should be up to state prosecutors to decide whether there is a crime or not, and they should decide whether it should be deleted or not. It shouldn't be upon Facebook, because the way it is right now, I think there's a serious risk of overblocking, because Facebook can face these fines, Facebook or other social networks can face these fines up to 50 million euros if they don't delete obviously illegal content within 24 hours. So what are they going to do? In order to avoid these fines, I think what they're going to do is, when in doubt, they're going to delete. And this might be harmful to free speech. So I think this is really the point where something needs to be done. You know, if you see Facebook doesn't react properly, well, then you have to make him react, but you don't put the burden to decide whether there's a crime or not upon a social network.
Yes, I don't see the risk of overblocking because in the past we have seen, for example, judgment. This was in 2014 from the European Court of Justice. They told Google that they have to delete every personal information of individuals if the individuals want that. And we saw that Google will delete too much, and this would be a risk for freedom of speech. But what I see in my law practice is that Google only deletes 50% of the reported infringements. These are a violation of personality rights. And in the other 50%, Google fights and they go to court. And I guess that Facebook will do the same. So if you have a look at the past and see what happened with this EU justice, where everyone said, this is the end of freedom of speech, I don't think that this new legislation will lead to overblocking.
I did say,
look, guys,
Hannes, you go. Go ahead.
It's not even clear what is hate speech, right? It's very difficult to define it legally. And so what Facebook has done in its own policy is to come up with its own definition of hate speech. And the people that we've talked to had no legal knowledge of the German law system at all. So how can you expect them to handle
That's problematic.
Plus,
who did you talk to, Hannes?
So we were talking to around a dozen content moderators for Facebook anonymously. And these people had backgrounds from many different countries coming to Germany, trying to find a job, looking for a visa, and then they found this company that offered office jobs. And it turned out it was actually Facebook or a subcontractor. And so that's the people handling it. It's real people, and they're not lawyers. And these guys have hundreds, they have 4,000 cases a day, which leaves them 8 seconds for a decision. And these are all 4,000 decisions.
So Hannes, let me just remind you, we did contact Facebook. They contacted us back via email and said we are going to have up to 700 content moderators by the end of the year in Berlin. The quality of them, we shall see. Let me just share with you a comment we have here from Twitter when we asked them again about this new draft bill. On enforcement, we've retrained all of our support teams on our policies, including special sessions on cultural and historical contextualization of hateful conduct. But as you just brought up, it's quite a complex situation to know what is hateful conduct.
And that's a question Janie here on Twitter asked as well. She's also raising the question of why now? Why is this bill being brought up now? Janie says we need clearly defined rules, and also it can't only apply to famous people getting their feelings hurt. The rules should apply to all. So Sina, there is a conversation online that this is being made into a big deal because it's involving politicians ahead of elections in September, whereas before it was about refugees, it was about minorities, and so no one cared as much. What do you make of that argument?
I tend to agree. I must admit, I'm very sorry about that, but I really think that currently politicians and also the media, they really jump on this topic, which I appreciate because it's super important, but people tend to forget that minorities, members of minority groups, refugees, I think every person that belongs to a minority group already has experience with hate speech. So it's, I agree that the politicians and journalists just jump on the issue right now since they are targeted now. But I think it has been there since a long time.
Well, actually, I think there's another point. Can I make another point?
Volker, please do.
Well, you know, I think the Ministry of Justice, Heiko Maas, he has been talking a lot about hate speech and fake news, and that it's on his agenda. And he always, you know, tries to portray himself as a fighter against everything that's evil on the net. So I think in a way it's become something like a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's been talking about it so much that now he's under pressure from other political parties as well, who say, well, now you have to deliver. Yeah, what are you going to bring to the table? So you've been talking about it so much. And I think this might be one of the reasons why it's coming now. And in fact, it's true. We're running up to a federal election in September. And probably for some politicians, it's now very important to get, let's say, a sharper image in the media. So that might be one of the reasons too. I'm just guessing.
Actually, in the Facebook policies, politicians are excluded because they're public persons, so they have not been protected beforehand, and they will not be. Journalists are not protected as well. I think the question is the power of Facebook, because actually hate speech is leveraged greatly by Facebook. So all these people who are just uttering some hateful comments, they have an audience of up to 2 billion people right now. And I think this can be clearly felt in the European political landscape right now. And this is why politicians are actually currently propping up their efforts. And also, they have been fully disrespected. The state secretary, so the #1 guy after Heiko Maas, has not been granted access to the Facebook facilities where the content moderators are working actually. And this is the first time in history, he says, somebody of his rank has not been granted access to a facility. So Facebook has kind of, just by ignoring the politicians, has kind of waged war. They give the feeling they stand above the law, and I think this is not helping them.
Let me give you an example, a very concrete example that you may well remember. Have a look here on my laptop. This is a selfie between a Syrian refugee and Angela Merkel. And the picture of this refugee was seen all over Facebook in context that wasn't the original context. Christian, when he tried to get those pictures, those additional pictures taken down, what happened?
In the first instance, nothing happened. It was clear, illegal, sometimes criminal content because he was insulted in this context. And the colleague of mine who fighted for the refugee against Facebook said that he had to complain 2 or 3 times, and then Facebook took this one picture down. But they didn't took down all the copies of the illegal picture when it was shared, and that is what he wanted to reach when he sued Facebook, but he lost the case. And with the new law, Minister of Justice Heiko Maas wants to change this. If I read the law correctly, it's not quite clear in this point. Then Facebook has to delete the original criminal content and has to search for
and find all the copies
of this.
Right. This actually might be a person power issue. Malika, what do you have?
It's interesting. I think it definitely is. I want to read 2 conflicting views via Twitter. This is Fawad, who says, salute to Germany. Hopefully other countries will take the same measure other than issuing warnings to block Facebook completely, hinting at the fact that they don't work. But Thielen says, no, the Justice Minister has a point about holding networks accountable, but this cannot be the way.
Let me just share this headline with you from Deutsche Welle. German police launch mass raids over online hate speech. That headline goes back way beyond the draft bill. So already German police were looking to investigate online hate speech. Volker, do you see any danger in this proposed bill?
Yes, as I said before, I see a danger for free speech, and I see the danger of overblocking. And there might be some other dangers too, which I haven't mentioned yet, mostly because of the way the bill has been conceived technically.
Sure, Volker, do you know where I should get you to mention those other things that you are concerned about in our online post show, which is where I'm going to take you and Hannes and Sina and Christian and also our audience as well. #AJStream, and we will be online at stream.aljazeera.com. Go in line, we will see you there. This conversation will be continued. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Hello again. This is our online post show. We've been discussing Germany's new hate speech bill. We're going to get right back to it. Volker, you were making some good points. The issues that you have with this proposed bill, over censorship, and what else?
Yes, and okay, it applies only to social networks with at least 2 million registered users within Germany. And so you have to ask, so what does that actually mean? When do you have registered users within Germany? Now, the Ministry of Justice says that it depends on the IP address you have during the registration process. So if you make yourself aware of the fact that a lot of people might use anonymity tools like Tor or use a VPN, then it's clear that when they are in this registration process, they will not have a German IP address. And on the other hand, people from other countries who use these tools, they might have a German IP address even though they are not from Germany. So it's kind of strange to have that as a criterion for social networks to fall under the bill or not fall under the bill, because it makes the bill very easy to abuse as well. For example, if you imagine that you have an established social network and then you see some competition coming up, there's a developing social network, well, you just program an army of social bots who register at this network with a German IP address. And all of a sudden, they will fall under this bill and they will have to, get more staff in order to fulfill all the duties that this bill puts on them. Yeah, and so it's very easy to make investments necessary for your competition and try in this way try to stabilize your own position in business. So this is one of the issues, technical issues that is, I think really not very well done about this bill.
So you mentioned the technical issues there. I want to share another one. This is Shayna. She says, there are already algorithms that can sort the fictional from the hate, the violence inciting better and faster than people. But there's pushback to that. This is Skiboy, who says it's not only wrong to crack down on free speech, it's impractical. Racists and radicals use code words to avoid detection. Hannes, is this one of the things that the people you talk to for your report on who are going through those filters and moderating,
So
how do you detect a code word?
So it's actually, so as I said, it's not machines. Most of the work has been done by humans, and you cannot understand such code words without a deeper knowledge. And these people have to. There's a facility in Berlin, but that facility works on stuff from all over the world. And so if the law is regulating those people according to German law, then what does it mean for those people just working on Arabic language, for example? There's a huge team of Syrians working in Berlin. And so what they told us is that, for example, you have an ISIS decapitation video coming up. It gets deleted, but ISIS is already prepared to set up a couple of hundred fake accounts with the same video, just in a slightly altered way. So you have it shorter, faster. So an algorithm cannot detect that. So it's kind of a flood. It's overwhelming, and I don't see how they will be able to manage this. It's a human thing. It's people. It's not a machine doing this. Yeah. And I'd like to see those.
What would you suggest, Hannes? This is interesting because what you lay out for us very clearly is how difficult it is to be a content moderator of hate speech. Or just content moderator breaking the Facebook's own rules and standards. What do you suggest? I hear the critique. I don't hear how do you get around this?
I do think, like talking as an economist, I do think Facebook is causing massive societal costs, and they have to pay for these costs somehow. So I get the point of them having to solve the problem. It's like a company polluting the rivers nearby in the 1970s, that kind of stuff. And what I am very proud of is that the law actually now features a part where it's talking about the people who are working on this. So that it must be made public how they are being treated and trained for this very, very difficult work. And so this part of the law I'm really supportive of.
Okay, I understand.
And I think it
Can
hasn't
I
worked up
jump
until
in?
yet, so we need something.
Sina?
Can I jump in? Yeah. Sorry, I really like your metaphor that you said the company is like polluting the river, so it has to pay to clean it up. But it's not only the company polluting the river, it's also the people in the social networks that are polluting the river. So I think that it does not only need legal steps and not only legal adjustments, but also you need to work in education. You need to tell people about human rights, about democracy, about freedom of speech, but also about the limits of freedom of speech, because there are limits. As soon as you violate the human rights of another person, freedom of speech has its limits. And that's how it is, not only in Germany, it's like this all over the world. So I think that's another step you have to take.
Yes, can I jump in as well?
Yeah, go ahead. We're almost out of time, so I'm looking forward to this last comment before I go to Malika. Go ahead.
Okay. I think Sina's right there. I think, hate speech is, for the largest part, a cultural problem. And you have to actually ask yourself what is happening in society so that hate speech can actually thrive. And I think one has to think about the causes. Where is hate coming from? Why do people think it's okay to utter this in public, for example? And then, if it actually constitutes a crime, then these people have to be prosecuted. Not Facebook has to be prosecuted, but the people who commit these crimes, who actually come out with hate speech. And I think this would be the right way, because anything else will only lead to the same problem move into another place. Like, for example, if you prosecute Facebook, for not deleting hate speech, then maybe people are going to move on to VKontakte, VK, the Russian network, for example, which already holds a lot of right-wingers, and they can say there what they want to say. So I don't, in order for the problem not just to move away, but to actually delete the problem, I think you have to go to the people who commit the crimes, not exactly the social network.
Thank you, guests. You really did a good job of debating this issue back and forth. I will leave the last comment to the community via Malika.
I'll give you two sides of it. This is Bloggy, who says this move by Germany will have a negative impact on free speech. But over on Facebook, Ogadika says this is an excellent idea. These companies don't take this issue very seriously because they're not going to lose money. And now they will be serious because failure to do so will come with a heavy fine.
I'm still struggling with Hannes's metaphor, because isn't Facebook the river, and then the pollutant is what people are throwing into the river?
Or the river is the internet.
Oh, okay. Food for thought. Thank you, Hannes, Volker, Sina, Christian. We really appreciate your time today. Take care, everybody.